Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks, and welcome to Legacy Lookbacks, the show where I compare and contrast the remade Ninjago Legacy set models that just came out in comparison to the older models that they're based off of. This is part of an ongoing series where it's a mega review of every single LEGO Ninjago set wave. In this case, for the Winter 2021 Legacy sets, I've broken up the video into multiple parts to allow to focus on each set in particular, especially because there's a lot more to say when they're remakes of older sets. This time we'll be taking a look at the Legacy Overlord Dragon set. Now this one is a little bit unique because it's not actually based off of any original set. So for this video, I figured a good topic of comparison would be to compare and contrast it against both previous Lloyd's Golden Dragon sets, specifically so I can see how they scale next to each other and how you can play with them next to each other as well. Let's just dive in and take a look right now.
Alright, so I think a good way to kick off this video is by showcasing the Overlord Dragon from 2021 next to both Golden Dragons. The first one is the original Golden Dragon, which retailed for also another $30 in 2013, and this is the Golden Dragon from the Legacy lineup that retailed for only $20 in 2019. Since the focus on this time is obviously the dragons and not the minifigures, I just will make a quick note that all of these included some form of the Golden Ninja. This one came with a minifigure form of the Overlord, whereas these ones came with minifigure forms of the Stone Warriors. Definitely is really nice getting both the Overlord Dragon, an Overlord minifigure, and a Golden Lloyd minifigure in the same set though. But I think let's pull the focus back on the dragons themselves for just some quick size and price comparisons. As you can see here, I think the most apt comparison is between this set and this set, at least in terms of legacy scale. You see that these two sets, removing the original for a brief moment, both came out around a similar time. It's just basically been 2 years since the original one came out, and they definitely are supposed to be companion pieces to combat against each other, and I think that the smaller scale for the Golden Dragon definitely makes a lot of sense, especially if you keep in mind how small it was compared to this in the show. It is really nice to see the pair of them, especially made for Legacy, right when we just thought we were maybe only getting just one of these for the Golden Dragon and nothing for the Overlord side of things, but they do scale generally nicely with each other. I will say though that, again, the wing technique on the Legacy version of the Golden Dragon also isn't the greatest. I think that other smaller dragons have done it better in recent years, such as Master Wu's dragon from the Season 13 line, which actually had vinyl wings, but I can kind of excuse it for this one because in the show the wings were pretty transparent anyway. That being said though, for the Overlord Dragon, the wings were very solid in the show. They had a lot of mass and weight to them. Here it almost kind of feels like they're way too hollow, especially when compared against some of the other sets. However, the one thing I cannot complain about is the price. While this dragon was $20, for just $10 more, you're getting a massive upgrade to both size and posability. You see, for the Overlord Dragon, he has the ratcheted joints for the legs, but you can also angle each foot separately, and we'll get into that when I look at this on its own a little bit more. It also has a brand new molded or dual molded headpiece. It's the same for the top and the bottom, but it actually works together really well in combination. But setting aside the $20 Golden Dragon set, I think it's a good time to take a look at the $30 Golden Dragon set, especially because these are both $30, despite one coming out a few years ago. So this is the Golden Dragon from 2013, also $30, and immediately I think the thing that stands out the most to me is just how much more complex this model is than this one. Obviously, they're not supposed to depict the same thing, but I think this is the most apt comparison where Legacy is concerned. I honestly am really impressed with the upgrades made from a dragon of this scale in 2013 to a dragon of this scale in 2021, both retailing for the same price point. While obviously the wing technique is kind of similar on the first Golden Dragon as it is on this one, probably one of my biggest critiques with the set, definitely feeling a little bit dated with the wing technique. Almost everything else has been completely upgraded. If you take a look at the Golden Dragon here, you'll notice that the feet are actually in a fixed position. The claws are just one solid piece, and they're also fixed at a 90-degree angle, which means that you can't even bend the feet in any which way. They're essentially just stuck as straight rods going down, which really is quite unfortunate, especially for a dragon of this size. Obviously, that problem has been fixed significantly with this version of the dragon, which allows you to move the legs, splay them out, and also angle the rest of the feet as well. The feet themselves on the Overlord Dragon are completely built up from bricks using some pretty cool techniques, instead of just using the standard Bionicle or Hero Factory foot piece here, which debuted for the Paraka in 2006. This model actually uses brand new brick-built legs featuring pretty cool construction. Even when we go on to the tail, I think it's a lot more impressive than the older set, especially when you compare the lengths of the tails and the amount that you can swish it back and forth. You'll notice that this tail right here is actually mounted on mixel ball joints, so you can actually have the ends of the tail splay out a little bit. You've also got this swaying motion between two different links, whereas this one just is mounted on some ball joints here. Obviously you can move it apart, but it's nowhere near as detailed as this set, and I think that it's very, very clear when you actually compare these sets, going from the backside of this set to the backside of this. You can easily see just which one has much more detail, so much more tiny things packed into it, from the tail spikes to the ridges on the side, just making it feel like a much more complete model. Even the base of the body going onto the wings has these dark, shadowy tendrils, which look really great, and especially when compared to the relatively blocky and simple body of the Golden Dragon here, it's literally just a few studs on the side techniques and basically just this whole rectangle shape here. If you look at the body of this Overlord Dragon, not only does it have a much more organic shape, let me just move the wing upwards a little bit so you can really see the detail put into the body, but you've also got an amazing amount of detail put on the bottom of the chest too, which again, we'll be taking a look at in a second. So all in all, I think that especially when comparing this $30 dragon to the previous $30 dragon that LEGO did all the way back in 2013, we definitely have a clear winner here in terms of value and design. I think that in both cases, despite the wing technique not actually being evolved, which is a bit of a shame, the Overlord Dragon definitely beats out both of the Golden Dragons in terms of design and value. I honestly was a little bit surprised, because typically you'd see that sets in older years would be relatively cheaper and not as expensive, but just looking at the price discrepancy between this and this, who supposedly have the same price, but this one has just so much more detail, I am definitely very happy with the direction that LEGO Dragons are going. It's just a shame that they didn't change the wing technique. But now let's set aside the two Golden Dragons and just examine the Overlord Dragon on its own as a set. This set retails for $30 and includes only two minifigures, a new version of the Overlord for 2021, and it also has a technically new version of Lloyd for 2021, although it is a bit of a downgrade because previously we got this exact same minifigure, but with a special golden print on his face. As you can see when we remove the hoods, these figures are identical, except the older one that we actually got had a golden face, and this one just uses the standard Lloyd face. Why they actually changed it for this set, I'm not 100% sure. If I had to guess, it was probably so they could actually delineate it from the other Golden Lloyd that came in the tournament set to celebrate the 10 years of Ninjago, maybe to artificially make this one a little less special and have him not have that golden face. I don't really know why they decided to do that, but this is the one that we got in the set. Maybe it also could be because in the show he did not have a golden face, which was only present in the sets. Could be it, not really sure why, but we do get a new version of Overlord, which actually is, funnily enough, more similar to the rebooted version than the one that actually appeared in Season 2, or the Possessed Garmadon version. But it is still really nice to get that. And of course, the main focus though is on the dragon itself. The minifigures are nice, but they're kind of just an additional thing. Despite this being a legacy set, it's actually very unique compared to the other sets in a few major ways. First of all, this is the only legacy set that was based off of something that appeared only in the show, but was never previously a LEGO set. All the other legacy sets are based off of an older LEGO set, except for this build right here, which is really interesting, and I hope that LEGO continues this trend of taking stuff from the show and making them into sets. The other major thing about this is that this is our very first villain-focused legacy set. Previously, every other legacy set has been focused primarily on hero buildings, locations, and animals.
This is the first dragon or first villain-based set in general, and I again hope that that's a sign that LEGO is realizing that some of the villain stuff can be popular, can sell well, and are good candidates to use for Ninjago Legacy. But taking a look at this build as a whole, I think that it, for one, is very, very good, especially for $30. I think that the designer really outdid themselves in terms of including a massively large dragon for a pretty good price as well. The tail features some recolored dark blue hinge pieces to really fit in with the color scheme. And the legs also allow you to articulate the feet, which is something that not very many other dragon sets get. Typically, for something this small, your feet are just generally stuck in one position for the set, especially if they're brick built like this and aren't just using the construction foot piece. In fact, the technique used for the feet is actually pretty interesting. I will say the way that it's angled on two different clips here allows you to mount it at an angle, which gives the foot a very unique design, which is really nice. The other thing is that the head is a completely brand new mold created for this character. It has been reused in some other Ninjago sets, namely the Jungle Dragon, and it will be reused this summer for the Wohira set. But in general, for this set, having it created for a new mold is a pretty cool detail. While it's not 100% show accurate, I think in the show it was a little bit longer even, it had a lot more teeth. This is a pretty decent representation and definitely immediately screams the Overlord from it. The only major difference are the new golden highlights, which were completely non-present during the actual show, but I do actually like the way that they highlight different aspects of the build. And speaking of these golden highlights, if we move it up to the chest here, you'll notice a really unique design of a rib cage on the bottom of the chest here with some sort of a lightning bolt design. This looks really interesting, wasn't present in the show, but really does feel like some sort of a heart light or chest plate for the dragon, which I think is done really well and is a great detail added on to this legacy set, which still makes it reminiscent of the exact thing that appeared in the show while trying to do something a little bit new and unique. The other thing that I really do like in terms of details of the set are the way that these tendrils are snaking around the top. It's very easy to miss if you're not looking at it correctly, but there's these little kind of smoke or venom tendrils that snake along to the wings, really just add a lot of detail and menace to this build, really just makes it feel like it's made out of living shadow and whatnot, so really cool design choices here. The only design choice that I really am very skeptical about, unfortunately, are the design of the wings. Honestly, I have no idea why they went with this design for the wings and didn't just give him a fabric piece or even just a vinyl piece to cut down on cost. I understand wanting to evoke the standard legacy dragon type stuff. Of course, Lloyd's Golden Dragon had this exact technique, but honestly, that came out in 2013. It's now 2021, and you would think that LEGO would have improved its wing building techniques in the past 8 years, but apparently they are still stuck on trying to use this very spindly design. It's honestly not that convincing as wings to me, especially because of how hollow it is in between. Really kind of takes away a little bit from the menace of this build in what is otherwise a fantastic build for a dragon. Feels like the wings were just kind of thrown on at the last minute. They weren't really sure exactly how to do it. And honestly, it really is baffling to me why they did this. They even recolored this blade piece, which was a very old piece. It was reintroduced just recently, but it was first introduced for Ninjago in 2012. They recolored it in purple for this dragon. And I can't help but feel that maybe, instead of spending the budget recoloring this in purple, they potentially could have just given us a fabric or vinyl piece instead. Would have made the set a lot more menacing, in my opinion, but honestly, the rest of it is generally pretty good to great. It's just the wings that kind of throw me off. So in terms of the quality overall of this set, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think that the rest of it, or basically everything but the wings, is very good. The wings, though, could use some work. Value for money is an easy 10 out of 10, spending just $30 for a dragon of this size for something we've been wanting for a long time is kind of a no-brainer for me. It's a very exciting set for Ninjago fans to get, so I'm very happy with the value here. It's literally just the way that the wings are constructed leaves a little bit to be desired. So taking a look at how the Overlord Dragon appears in the TV show, I think that there were a lot of details that were retained for this model, but there are still quite a few details that I do wish that they could have afforded for a larger set to have.
As you can see in the original model for the Overlord Dragon as seen in the Season 2 of the TV show, the head of the dragon featured some very distinctive trails, 4 trails on the back of the head, which were very unique. They were rippling in the wind, and unfortunately those are pretty much not even present on this model. You'll notice that on the model itself, it really only has just one purple spike on the top of the head. It doesn't have these very distinctive trails behind it, which I do feel is a bit of a miss. They probably could have just modified the mold to have some more clip pieces to allow for some tendrils to be stuck on the back of the head, but unfortunately, they did not opt to do this. Obviously though, the main difference here that you'll notice is the massive wingspan. As you'll see, the show model not only has just 3 little tendrils of black spikes sticking out from the wings, it has almost double that amount, actually over double that amount. I count 7 different spikes sticking out of the wings, and it has this very cool tattered and ripped wings look, especially when the wings are completely furled out. Unfortunately, again, as I was mentioning in the review, this is basically not even present in the actual model, which really does feel like a shame. I honestly would have really wanted this to maybe switch the price points with, say, the X1 Ninja Charger for $50 in this wave, and had a much more substantial Overlord Dragon, because as it is right now, it does feel very unsubstantial for the wing area in particular. Everything else, though, is definitely very accurate, if not an upgrade. I do really like the chest detailing on the newer model. Despite it not being present at all on the original model for the Season 2 TV show, you can definitely see that it adds a lot more visual flair and detail to the LEGO set versus just a plain black torso. But with that, I think we've about wrapped up this comparison for the Overlord Dragon. Definitely a set that has been a long time coming. A lot of us never thought that we would ever get the set, but here it is, and definitely would recommend picking it up at only $30.
Thank you all for tuning into Duckbricks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and that about wraps up our comparisons with the Overlord Dragon with the Golden Dragon. Let me know down in the comments below, do you like this set? Do you wish it was a little bit different? And if so, would you have wanted a larger dragon? Let me know, and definitely stay tuned to Duckbricks for even more Ninjago Legacy lookbacks coming your way very soon. The next video will be taking a look at Cole's Roto Jet, or the Boulder Blaster as LEGO calls it, so definitely stay tuned next week for that. Thanks all for tuning in, and bye bye for now.